Hi guys, this is Ukrainian Toronto Television Podcast. This is Melania Podolyak. Here we have my co-host Mark in the studio and also our dear friend of the channel, Mr. Sergej Sumlenny, who's an expert on Eastern Europe, who's been working at the various organizations that deal with Eastern Europe and relationships within Europe and whatnot. And today we're going to have a little story time, if you will. Let me tell you guys and our wonderful guests here in the studio and Mark a little story about a little big organization called FSB. It's a Russian secret service, basically. And they have a department within the FSB, commonly known as Department Number 5. Have you guys ever heard something about Department Number 5?
Not before. Not before.
You've never heard about Department Number
Yeah.
5. Have you, Sergej, heard something about Department Number 5?
Well, actually, yes, but
Okay.
I would say like it is not typical what people are reading or listening about.
Well, there you go. So for our viewers, I'm going to tell you about what this department does. On paper, they're supposed to be dealing with other countries' intelligence. It's about cooperation. It's about fighting terrorism. You know, sounds very great and very nice. But in reality, this department has to do with virtually influence operations within other countries. And inside this fifth department, there is a teeny tiny department, like a special department of operative information that deals with influencing countries of former USSR and kind of pulling them in a Russian agenda. That includes Ukraine, Belarus, Moldova, Georgia, Armenia, and whatnot. And a list of the people who work at that department has been leaked in Ukrainian society, has been distributed online, and they have a fairly famous at this point operative. His name is Leonid Vakalov. It's going to become clear why we're talking about this, because there are serious reasons to believe that this FSB operative is in close contact or works with two former deputies of German Bundestag. And this is why we actually have Sergej with us today to discuss this. So kind of to get an idea how these things work, it's not like, you know, in spy movies where people, you know, talk to, you know, each other in cafes and pass each other teeny tiny notes and it's all very, you know, spies everywhere, very cool. It's actually kind of even mundane, if I will say. In 2017, there was this forum in Moscow. It's like an event. It was called Social Economic Foundations of International Relations. Sounds like something so obscure that nobody would ever care about. These forums happen all the time about everything. But there were many speakers from different countries. And the person we talked about, Leonid Vakalov, an FSB operative, he was present at that forum. He was sitting there, you know, engaging in discussion, talking, all of these things. And there was even Ukrainian flag and Ukrainian representative among those speakers. And it's not like there was no reason for it. There were Ukrainian people there. Specifically, a person called Amram Petrosyan. He is a Ukrainian. He even was kind of sort of a politician in Ukraine for some time. And he is part of a foundation that organized that forum in Moscow. And why is it, how does it work that an FSB operative takes part in an event organized by an organization led by a Ukrainian ex-politician? Well, this is the point of the fifth department of FSB. They exert a so-called soft power via these, you know, conferences, via media, via these discussions. So we have a conference in Moscow with a FSB operative and a Ukrainian representative there who is part of that organization of the forum. What does it have to do with German deputies? Well, the problem is that this organization that Ukrainian Amram Petrosyan is a part of is actually quite close to Waldemar Gert and Robbie Schlund. They were deputies in German Bundestag since 2017 till 2021. And they were members of the very infamous, if you will, party in Europe called Alternative für Deutschland, AfD. And something that has something that is common for both these deputies and for this FSB organization with FSB members attending the conference is that they have a common goal, a very vocal goal that especially these two deputies have been talking about, is lifting sanctions from Russia.
What a coincidence.
Yes.
Like,
Imagine an event in Moscow with FSB operatives and a guy from Ukraine who's known, by the way, who's been working for Russia for at least 10 years at that point. And German deputies who've been very vocal about lifting sanctions from Russia. They are all friends. This is impossible to imagine. There are many pictures of them spending time together. They have fun. These German deputies have social media accounts in Russian social media. They are vehemently they're very, diligent in defending rights of so-called German Russians in Germany. How is it possible, yes, that the German deputies are in such close contact with Russian operatives that they even post pictures together online and nobody cares about it?
Well, like, if it is a question to me, then first, we are dealing with a very special group of German deputies. Both are from the Alternative for Germany party, which is notorious for being party which represents pretty radical views. Like, not every single representative of this party is radical, but many are. And the views are often far right. Some are legally being allowed to be called by the court decision as neo-Nazis. And the overall idea of the AfD, of Alternative for Germany, is to get rid of the transatlantic connections of the Federal Republic of Germany, of German state, with the US, and get into close contacts with Russia, which is, as you mentioned, pretty in line with the ideal view of the Russian foreign policy. So now you ask me, how can these deputies get pictured on one picture with the FSB employees or FSB connected people, and there are no consequences? Well, that's very easy. First of all, because the deputies of German parliament, they're not state servants, they're not bureaucrats. They are being elected by the people. And as long as they don't violate the law directly, and there is no law in Germany not to have your friends FSB officers, that's how it works. They can only be punished by their voters who will not vote for them after having seen them with a Russian spy. The problem is that obviously for many of their voters, their deputy being pictured with the Russian agent is not a negativism. It's nothing bad, quite the opposite. It's something good. That is a proof that they are really doing what they're preaching, decoupling Germany from the US and coupling Germany with Russia. So it's a clear win-win. That is why, for example, deputies of the German parliament, some of them visited Russia-occupied territories of Ukraine. Could be Crimea.
By the way, these two guys, both Robi Schlund and Waldemar Gert, both went to Crimea in 2018. And when they were asked where did they get the money for this trip, they did not disclose. They said, it was privately financed. And it was kind of weird because after they went to Crimea, one of them decided to open their office in Moscow, an official representative office of the deputy in Moscow, but Bundestag actually refused to permit that, so he didn't succeed.
Well, that is one of the reasons, one of the cases when they can get not punished but brought to some responsibility for what they do. Because the deputies, they must disclose their source of income. And if the income exceeds a certain amount, they theoretically must disclose it to the parliament, to the budget commission of the parliament. They must publish it openly. and that should be disclosed. The question is, of course, how it can be proven that, for example, during that trip they got some profit in non-monetary value, for example, like staying in a certain hotel or organizing some trips, or I don't know, like some food or some presents. I don't know, because it is really hard to find out if there had been some like monetary or non-monetary profit achieved by them. But important is, and I think that is really very important to understand, they have never tried to hide their like cordial friendship with the Kremlin. They have never tried to hide their trips to Donbass or to Crimea. I don't speak now only about the Valdemar Gert or the others. There have been also deputies from the left party who visited like Moscow or like made their trips in other regions. They never tried to hide it. Quite the opposite. They always bragged with that. They were saying, look, while the imperialistic influenced German federal government trying to do what the Washington puppeteers dictate them, we stay for the interests of the German people, and we are building bridges to Russia because Russia is our natural partner. That's what they were saying. And that was endorsed by their voters who voted for them. And this is exactly the problem. It's not the problem that some like older guy like Gert, who had like his Russian heritage and Russian past, that he is trying to play this game, like visiting Moscow and hugging FSB agents or whatever. The problem is that there are enough people who, knowing that, would vote for him. And now we know that in Germany, the Alternative for Germany is now the second popular party in the country. And according to the last polls, there are about 25% of the Germans who would be ready to vote for this party. That makes Alternative for Germany more popular party than both Liberal and Green Party combined, two parties which are within the German government. And it makes Alternative for Germany more popular than Social Democrat Party, the party of German Chancellor Olaf Scholz. And like now, the most popular party is the Christian Democratic Union combined with Christian Social Union. The Conservatives, they are in opposition, but the second popular party is AfD, Alternative for Germany, which makes Alternative for Germany the, as I said, radical party which hosts people who can openly be called neo-Nazis or far-right. It makes this party the second popular party in Germany, and that is the real problem.
Do you think that the problem is that German intelligence agencies, German police do not do enough work of investigating the links to foreign intelligence, Russian intelligence, maybe Chinese intelligence, because we like what we found out, what Anatolia Stepanka, the author of the investigation, found out was only the things which are on the top of the iceberg. It's just what these guys posted online, but there are like a bunch of other guys, and like when we see the anti-European, anti-Western, pro-Russian position of the huge party, it provokes questions. And then we find out about like this party had two guys who are openly working with FSB and
it's
get
not
nothing.
even that. It's not even that. It's that Valdemar Gert at some point there was this interparliamentary commission in Bundestag in 2019 dedicated to human rights, and Valdemar Gert actually invited Amram Petrosyan, the Ukrainian proxy for FSB, to be a part of it, and he was. And this commission was even, suggesting to be a like kind of intermediary in talks with Russia at that point. So it's not. I get the idea that like as non-public servants they have. The ability to do whatever, honestly. But is as Mark just said, is German intelligence even concerned with these problems? Because this is literally, Russian agents that have embedded themselves into Bundestag. And then, as Mark has correctly stated, there are so much things that we don't know about.
Of course, you're absolutely correct. And of course, it is not that if you are an elected member of the Bundestag, you may do whatever you want. Of course, there are quite different levels of clearance for the Bundestag members and for the state servants. Look, and here there is a dilemma. For example, what do you do if you have a member of a party like AfD who is a member of Security Committee or Foreign Policy Committee in the Bundestag? They have their access to secret documents or to discussions. They can take these documents to their office, where these documents can be shared with for example, with the staff of their team. And here you have the dilemma. They have democratic legitimation of their actions because they have been elected by the people. So they cannot be deprived of some access. But at the same time, they can pose a certain security risk for Germany. Now, your question is absolutely excellent. What do the German intelligence services do? What are they doing? And we know that Germany's intelligence services have been pretty blind regarding the Russian influence. We know that the German intelligence services have been infiltrated by the Russians to pretty high levels. This year, one of the department heads, if I'm not mistaken, of BND is a German intelligence service which deals with the foreign threats. It's actually getting information from abroad. He was arrested as a Russian spy.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, it was like a half a year ago. And we know that the former head of the German Bundesverfassungsschutz, the intelligence service which deals with internal threats like sabotage, espionage, etc., it's counter-sabotage and counter-espionage agency. They don't act abroad, but they act a lot inside of Germany, protecting our interests from hostile intelligence services. He completely derailed, turning into a full supporter of AfD, a conspiracy theorist, etc. And he was, for years, under Angela Merkel, he was the head of Bundesverfassungsschutz. So just think what kind of people he could have planted on important positions. Maybe not completely infiltrated or even bought by the Russians. You don't need to have it. You just need to have a certain political system of views, like thinking who is your enemy, who is not your enemy, being suspicious towards the Americans, being friendly towards the Russians, and think, okay, maybe Russians are not that incorrect in what they're doing in Ukraine. Maybe we just need to listen more to them. Maybe we don't need to invest all our German influence in support of Ukraine, etc. Maybe we do. Maybe we need to act differently. And if you have enough of these people on certain positions, that the reports about Russian hostile activity will be downplayed or will not be passed further, and some searches which need to be done will not take place, and some arrests which need to be done will not take place. And then you have a problem. Because we know that in Germany, we have, I don't say that we are as bad as Austrians, for example, where the Russians feel themselves at home, or Hungarians, but we're pretty close. And we know that, for example, for certain friendly intelligence services like the American, the British services, they didn't share their papers and their reports with us completely, because there was that same, since years, circling in intelligence services in Europe or in the Western Hemisphere. If you want some document to get delivered to the Kremlin, send this document to the Germans.
God.
This will raise the Russians' attention. If you want to discreetly make Russians aware of something, and you don't want the Russians to believe that it was your intention, that they know that, just send this document to the Germans, and be sure the Russians will get access to it. That's a problem. We also know that several terrorist attacks, which have been prevented in Germany, in particular, the latter one, a couple of days ago, when an Islamist radicalized terrorist planned to drive with a truck into a pro-Israel demonstration, these terrorist attacks were prevented because the German intelligence services were informed by the foreign services that these things will happen in Germany. So the German services had no idea that someone is planning a terrorist attack on their own soil, because they don't use extensively, as intelligence services need to use, like phone tapping, control over electronic communication, observation, etc. They are stick to all the methods, a lot of playing these games with informal agents, and when you don't know who is playing whom. And then the Americans come and say, hello guys, there is some bad guy who wants to kill some Germans on your German soil. Do you know about him? Oh, wow, what a surprise. Yeah, we were observing him since 10 years, but we never knew he will be that bad. So that's a problem too.
It was in Homeland. It was in Homeland, totally. In Homeland series, it was 100% the same story in TV series Homeland.
I'm just wondering why it is. Is it because I have three explanations, like conjure up in my head on the spot. The first one, maybe Germany has been overly relaxed or overly confident in that there is going to be no more threat ever, so they just relaxed. Or B, did somebody intentionally weaken the security kind of architecture of Germany? Or 3, maybe it was a decision to kind of, there are these discussions always especially in the West, in Europe, in America, how far can the state ethically reach into, preventing crimes and terror attacks, like what, you've mentioned wiretapping, you've mentioned all these things. There's always this
facial
debate.
recognition, for example.
Yeah, all of these things.
Yeah.
So what happened in Germany? Why is this now an issue? I guess that the entire intelligence architecture of Germany has to be virtually overhauled.
Well, I think that all three reasons you have mentioned are true. And it is never about one reason. It's always, when you really have a catastrophic event, it is always a combination of different factors. And none of these factors is crucial enough to be the only and the single one, but in a combination, they lead to some disaster. In Germany, we have this combination. We have the latter one, which is actually the most easy one, this common prejudice against the phone tapping, big data observance or face recognition, etc. That is really a problem because Germany, for example, is the last mapped country by Google Street View, not without a reason, but because in many communities it is just forbidden to do this. And this is a mindset which also comes into the secret services or intelligence service. But of course, the bigger two reasons is the infiltration by the Russians and the overall German idea this will not happen to us. We are too important for the Russians. They will not dare. It is exactly when Germany sold its energy independency to Russia by constructing Nord Stream 1, Nord Stream 2, or participating in that constructions. The whole world was telling the Germans, don't do that, don't do this. The Ukrainians said that, okay, the Ukrainians have their interest. They were told Ukrainians want to get these transit fees for the gas transit. Then the Americans said that. They said, oh, it's Trump is saying that because he is dumb, he is stupid, he is somehow populist and dictators. And then Putin just stopped the gas delivery within 1 key turn. And then we got the situation when we had 3, 4, 5 times jumping gas prices. And then the Germans said, oh, the Russians really did that to us. How could they? We didn't expect that. And that is actually the whole perpetuum mobile of German ignorance, of these head into the sand politics. What was the assessment of the German institutions before the Crimea occupation? Why Russia will never do this? Why Russia will never occupy Crimea? Very simple. The German explanation was the Russians will never dare to occupy Crimea because it is against international law. And the Russians will never dare to openly breach international law because they are a member of international community, because they fought their way into all the international institutions and platforms. Why would they do this? This will ruin their image. No. They have done it. And I think that is exactly the same mindset if we exclude the existing influence of Russia, hostile influence, and existing political sabotage actions of certain politicians. The overall mindset is comfortably numb.
Do you think there's political will to change this, to fix this problem on behalf of all Scholz and the members of the coalition?
Is there even like awareness? Are they aware? Like, oh my God.
Yeah, because we just fun fact, we didn't our editorial board tried to push the Anatoly's investigation to German media. They refused. All of the German media refused to publish the investigation.
Yeah, because of course, you're a part of the conflict. Like, just taking your investigation will put them in risk that, like, they are working as a PR agency for the Ukrainians. And of course, the Ukrainians have their dire interest to smear certain politicians who are pro-Russian. If we publish that, we will just like help the Ukrainians to spread their narratives. It's not what media do. Of course, that is that mindset. Like, if you look at the German media, like of course we have decent media and we have very good reporters. Just think about like Paul Ronsheimer, who is doing an amazing job since the first day of the Russian full-scale invasion, and now he's doing an amazing job in Israel, which is under attack of the Hamas. But if you look into the wording by the public media in Germany, the Tagesschau or TDF, you will see that with the little exemptions of the people who are really on the ground, like Vasyl Golod, who is a correspondent of the first German TV in Kiev. But if you look what the main office is reporting, they always try to bring like both sides' views and quote both Ukraine and Lavrov as if Lavrov has ever said truth. Like, the moment when Lavrov opened his mouth, he's lying. We know that. There are a lot of evidences for that. And still Lavrov gets quoted by the German media, and still we have that wording, that wording like a missile hit like Kramatorsk. Ukrainians accuse Russia denies, saying it was a Ukrainian missile, as if we don't know who is fighting the war against the Ukrainian people. And that is, of course, the problem, because within the German society, of course, there is now quite different understanding of what Russia is and what Kremlin is after Bucha, after Irpin, after Mariupol, after like kidnapping of Ukrainian kids. But still, there is this idea we may not build a firewall between Germany and Russia. We may not treat Russian culture institutions or scientific institutions or others as hostile institutions, because yes, there is FSB and Kremlin, etc., but overall, like, we need to keep bridges open, gates open, we need to communicate. And I think that after some time, and if this war goes into the next year and is being prolonged, these calls for some normalization of the relations with Russia will get louder. And the worst moment will be when Putin resigns or gets killed or dies or disappears, and someone like Alexei Navalny or Mishustin or whatever, like a nice-looking guy who speaks good English and who is not from FSB, not from the army, and even an oppositional or an economist, will take Putin's place. Then they will all shout in crowds, look, Russia has changed. There is no terrible Putin anymore. We need to use this chance, to use this window of opportunities to support Russian civil society, to support Russian voices, to support Russian opposition. And all these people who are now nesting in Berlin from the Russian institutions like Ekaterina Schulman, or I don't know, the people from Carnegie or the others, they will be on the fighting front of this movement, like of rebuilding relations between Moscow and Berlin, because nobody in Berlin really wants to cut all ties to Russia and understand that Russia is an empire, and empires cannot be good. They can be smart or stupid, but they are always aggressive and always expanding.
Good take. Well, by the way, we started this take with talking about media. And guys, if you would like, to support media that, try to tell the truth. And yes, we might not always be super objective, but we are proud of, bringing the truth to the world. Please subscribe to the channel. Please hit the like button or a dislike button if you don't like this video. Share this video with your friends. Leave a comment, debating the positions we have here. We love when our audience correct us on things or tell us what they think about stuff. And yeah, support us. We're trying to do the right thing. You want to say something, Mark? I can tell on your face.
No, I wanted to shout like support, press like we shouldn't be shy. We deserve it. And Sergej deserves it.
Yeah, I thank you guys, and we will see you next week.